Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of I Have Albinism, so what does that mean? In this one, I'm going to talk about it from the standpoint of exclusion, seclusion, bullying, mistreatment, discrimination, all of those things that come along with being born as an albino or a person with albinism, because most people are unfamiliar with the negative sides of it. Even though sometimes they are a part of the negativity, they often act shocked or surprised whenever we mention these things, because it's something that affects us greatly, no matter where we're from, no matter the walk of life, no matter the cultural or ethnic background. It is something that we all share. It's a shared experience. And so I'm going to talk about it briefly in this video. So I think the first one that I did, I talked about albinism and all of the positive strengths that come along with it, as far as just being unique, being rare, and being something that God chose to create different. And it has many medals of honor that come along with that, right? But at the same time, when you are around people who don't have that condition, or they have that lack of understanding, or they don't want to have that understanding, then it can often be met with mistreatment and bullying and discrimination. And while all of us within the albinism community have not faced these perils, many of us have. And again, as I mentioned before, it is a shared experience that most of us have. And in the relationship to my sisters and myself, that is an environment that we grew up in majority of our lives growing up. It didn't really start getting easier or better until we got into our adulthood, if I'm being honest, because for the most part, people just felt like we were an open case study and they could just walk up to us and say anything or ask anything, or even walk up to our mom and ask her crazy questions and things that just didn't make sense. We were poked at and prodded at as though we were lab rats under a microscopic lens, being evaluated by those who would deem our destiny as being something that would be positive or negative. I didn't even realize that it was so toxic until I got older and I began to see it from the outside looking in. If you are new to nomelanin, you probably don't know my backstory, but a lot of it as a teenager specifically, I had low self-esteem. I didn't like the way that I looked, and I didn't like having albinism. If you ask me, it was simply that. It wasn't because we didn't have a lot of money or because of any other thing outside of albinism, because that was the focal point to a lot of the mistreatment that my sisters and I faced. And of course, it was other things. There were other things as well, because when you're not raised with a lot of money, or when people have to do a lot of things for you and give you a lot of things, oftentimes that is used against you to hold you down and to make you feel like you are forever in debt to whatever they did for you. So when you multiply that in with being born different, and my parents had not just one child with albinism, but three, it creates a lot more problems. For me, that was my main issue. And I wanted so desperately to have darker skin. I wanted so desperately to have darker hair. I wanted so desperately for my eyes to be better. I wanted those eye conditions to go away. I would pray at night and ask God to change my eyes, not because I wanted to be able